attempt to take this and replace this with it. So, in this table that wobbles. And I'm going to take this, turn this into a butcher block table. And it's going to serve two purposes. One is my workbench, and the other one is going to be the patio table in the back. So hopefully it turns out well. So the wood comes with factory curves. When I eventually butt this up together, there's going to be a little groove there, which I don't want. So what we're going to do is we're going to shave off a piece of it, and then eventually, when I clamp this together, that little valley is then gone. So it's nice and flat. Now on with making the tabletop. So to make the tabletop, I have four 4-feet clamps, and I'm laying down the board with the help of Ethan. So we're spreading down the glue using a spatula and a silicone brush to brush it. Little did I know this was taking too long, and the glue was drying up faster than I expected. So what I ended up doing was I laid down all the boards, pour all the glue on the wood, and then use my hand to rub all of the glue into the wood and stack them all together. And it took about a minute to do it, so it was a lot quicker. That approach is a lot quicker than using the brush. And then here, there's a little slight bow in the tabletop as expected. So what we decided to do was lay down some paper and then put some 45-pound weights on them, 4 45-pound weights to even out the weight, to push it down. So here, that's how it looks like underneath with all the glue dripping. And on the edge, I had to clamp up some wood because they were starting to go whatever direction they wanted to go. So I took the 4x4. This is actually not 4x4 or 3x3. It's actually not 3x3 either. It's really small. Took that, broken down the pieces. So we have the bottom piece. We have the bottom piece, and everything's cut at 45-degree angle with that piece. And then I have a notch now. Got that. Left bottom. This. Left top. This. What is this? Probably bottom. Maybe. Top. Something like this. Okay. There you go. It looks something like that. So here's the assembly of the legs. So the step is pretty much the same for all pieces. It's pretty much wood glue, pre-drill the hole into the wood, and then apply the lag bolts into it. The lag bolts were used on the centerpiece, but on the supporting pieces, I just use a 4-inch decking screw. So here's the bottom right, I believe. Just glue that on, spread out the glue, top and bottom, and then just screw them on. But before screwing them on and whatnot, I made sure I drew a line to mark it where it's supposed to go. What happened is the wood, even though to the naked eye it looks straight, but actually not. There's a little twist. When I start cutting the 3x3, I noticed that the wood would slowly twist. So in order to untwist it, I have my wife standing on top of it. And while she's on top of it, I can glue and screw the support beam on tightly as possible so that it doesn't twist any further. there is still a little twist, but that little twist is removed later on once I assemble the table. So last supporting piece to the beam. So what I actually learned from the first leg, I applied to the second leg. So instead of having her stand on top of the legs, I would use my clamp and just clamp them tight enough where it's a snug fit between the supporting beam and the leg, or the top piece or the bottom piece, whatnot, and that worked out even better because she didn't have to stand on it and the clamp just did all the work. So with all the holes, I took all the sawdust and reused them. Just put in some wood glue, mix it up with the sawdust, and then just shove it back inside the hole. Let them dry, and eventually I'll sand them out. So here is a dry fit of the table, both legs and the middle supporting beams. And here they are, ready to be sanded. So they are a mirror image of each other, the legs are. And time to go sand these guys out. So the sanding process took a while because I had to do two legs and the support beam. So I started off with a 40 grit sandpaper, roughed it out, and then went down to 190 and then 280. So here is the two legs and the supporting beam glued together with me standing on top of it, so it can handle the weight. Here I'm working on the tabletop. What I'm doing is I'm shoving in glue between the gaps and then shoving the sawdust inside the gap with the glue and shoving it in as much as possible so that it fills in the gap. And this part here is awesome. I did not have a planer for this project. I was so disappointed with how it looked without the planer, so I went out and bought a planer, and it was night and day. It removed all the glue and it removed all the imperfection of the 2x4, and it just made everything smoother, or smooth. And the table, there is a slight bow, but with the hand planer I was able to remove the bow. On top of that, the edge of the table, what you're seeing right now, I was going to cut that with the circular saw to make it nice and clean, but we decided to just sand it down and leave the roughness alone, to kind of remind us that the beautiful tabletop came from some junky old 2x4. So with the planer, it produced a lot of sawdust, and it so happens to be windy the day before and the same day of the planing. So planing the tabletop, I started off with 180 grit sandpaper, getting all the valleys out, getting all the dips out, and then finishing off with a 220. But while I was sanding the table, I wanted to make sure that it was flat. So what I did was I took a 24-inch plate and then just placed it all over the table to make sure that it did not rock. If it did rock, then I would just sand that part off. So here's the table completely sand, ready for prep, or ready for staining. But before I stain, I would use this tack cloth, and then just wipe out any of the fine sawdust that's not visible on the table. This way, when I put the shellac on, I don't see any bumps. You don't see any bumps and all that jazz. So this process went by fairly quick. I actually like the color of the tabletop right now. I think it looks pretty neat. But after putting on the shellac, it actually brings out the color of the table. So here's the product I'm using, shellac. I bought a whole gallon because I thought a quart would not be enough. Because the quart, they wanted 2 coats, and that would be 250 square feet and whatnot. So I just went, on the safe side and used this thing. I'm using a 5-inch brush. Horsehair is very fine. It's very soft to apply the shellac. And as you can see, the color completely changed, which is pretty cool. Some wood are dark red, some are, I guess, white or blonde. But the outcome looked pretty awesome, I thought. This part didn't take as long because of the 5-inch brush. I did apply a thin coat with every layer, I suppose. That's what's recommended in the can. So I ended up putting on layer 1, waited for a few minutes, apply layer 2. I ended up applying 5 layers of shellac. So here are the casters that I'm using. The table itself is super heavy. If I ever want to move it around, I would need someone to be around to help move it around. So to sacrifice the look for convenience of moving the table, I decided to buy these casters where you can step on them and it will push or lift the table up, and it's rated at 400 pounds per caster. So it's pretty awesome once it was installed, because prior to the installation I would have my wife help me pick up the table and move around, and we would move the table maybe inches because it is that heavy. So with the casters, they give you a template to center the bracket. All you do is just follow the template. I pre-drill the holes and then drive in the Phillips screws that they provided, and then once all 4 screws are installed, you would just shove the caster in and finish it off with a nut to secure the caster. I don't like the look of it, but I got used to the look of the caster. So here is the table completed, and I'm about to attempt to move this table without the help of anybody. All you have to do is step on those pegs. It lifts up the table with ease, and then you can just move it around. So yeah, if you can avoid seeing the casters, then I don't know. I think the table looks great. But now I can move the table anywhere I want. So the table, again, we're going to use it as a patio table, but when I need to assemble stuff that I'm building, I will use it as my workbench. If I have to use my vice grip or grinder, I will clamp those devices to the table and clamp them, and then use them as is on a table, which I have already tried, and it actually is solid, which is awesome. So I hope you like this video. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Try to build it. You will need some specialty tools such as the planer. Thanks for watching. Bye.